Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dawn of Drones podcast. I'm Dawn Zoldi, CEO of P3 Tech Consulting. So great to have you all back. This is live, so please drop comments in the chat, your questions. We love to hear positive encouragement, so bring it on. We absolutely love that. Let me just tell you, this is September 1st. We are diving into a new month here, but we had a spectacular kickoff in August with our high impact use cases sponsored by White Fox Defense. And we rolled through not only counter UAS, but drone support to wildland firefighting and drone disinfecting and drone support to critical infrastructure. I mean, if you haven't seen the videos, go back and watch. We are now kicking off an incredible month of movers and shakers. And when you think about who's moving this market and doing incredible things, there's no better guests to have here today than ParaZero and Delta Drones International. We've got Aaron Gabriel representing ParaZero and Attias representing the Delta Drones International. They're coming to us live from Israel. So I love that we are so global, and we're going to hear about the incredible things that they are doing across the globe. So anyway, welcome both of you. It's so great to have you both on the podcast.
Hi, Don.
Pleasure to be
And actually, these folks are sponsoring this entire month, so thank you also for that. And let's go ahead and get started and talk with Aaron first. Aaron, for those that don't know, tell us a little bit about ParaZero Safety Systems. What is it all about?
Sure, Don. First, let me say a sincere thank you for having us on here. Truly a pleasure to be here. You know, as a background, ParaZero was founded in 2014 by a group of aviation professionals and commercial drone operators to address problems experienced in the field while operating commercial and military UAS. You know, we specialize in autonomous safety systems for a myriad of aerial platforms, ranging from 1 kilo platforms all the way up to 350 kilo plus advanced air mobility, multi-rotor fixed wing, VTOL, eVTOL, and everything in between.
Well,
So
what I was going to say, yeah, Aaron, what I was going to say is I'm very familiar with these quote unquote problems you're talking about in the field, because maybe fun fact that most people don't know, when I was in the United States Air Force, one of my second to last assignments, I was at Air Combat Command, and I was the lawyer that was in charge of reviewing all of the United States Air Force safety accident reports. And, you know, so this idea that, you know, drones, they lose link, you know, they can crash. I assume that's some of what you're talking about, and your system was built to address exactly those problems. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself, and then we'll dive into exactly what these systems are all about.
Sure. So professionally, my background spans more than 20 years across functions and roles, including sales management, business development, financial services, and a bit of entrepreneurship. You know, after graduating from Arizona State University's W.P. Carey School of Business, I made the decision after some life changes to relocate to Israel, and I couldn't be happier. After around the 2019 mark, I joined the ParaZero team, and it's truly a pleasure to come to work with such an amazing, talented and professional group of individuals. We truly comprise a remarkable team, and it's a joy to come to the office.
Well, this is my office here. I've been living in my basement for like the last year and a half, basically, but it's great to have an amazing team because that's what it's all about. And speaking of teams, before we get into your system a little bit, Aaron, let's talk about your teammate here, Eden, Attias. Eden, so great to have you. For those that don't know, Eden rose to the level of Brigadier General in the Israeli Air Force. So we have that commonality of being former military together. But, I only made it to the lowly rank of colonel. Of course, he's a general. So, sir, tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, thanks again, Don, for the opportunity. I mean, it was a great meeting in the conference, but definitely we've been fortunate to be part of this show. As you said, in my previous life, I should call it, I was mostly around the manned platform as a trained pilot in the Israeli Air Force and run through the commands. Was the squadron commander, base commander, and in a few bases, in a few positions and other sorties. And at the end, till the rank of Brigadier General, as you said. I've been as well fortunate to spend 3 years in Canada as a defense attaché for Israel. It's more of a diplomatic post, but with unique opportunity, with a great partner and great allies. And the day I went back to Israel, I decided to spend and invest my experience and time in this growing, which back then was still look like a big promise, but today we think it's there, not fully there, but definitely getting there. Drone for commercial and enterprise application, that's my main involvement. PyroZero was a company, I was one of the founding member, and later on even the active CEO for a few years. And till we recently created a more larger group, which you said that we're both in Israel, but the involvement is all the way to Australia. Delta Drone International is an Australian-based holding company that have activity in Africa, in South Africa, in Ghana, and other places in Africa, in Israel. And the ambition of this group is to build a service, a drone-based service, we should call it, with an anchor technology company like PyroZero in Israel. So that's kind of for the opening phase.
No, that's perfect. And so I think you alluded to it, but just to be absolutely clear, so people really appreciate the relationship between Delta Drone International and PyroZero, is Delta Drone basically the umbrella parent company? PyroZero is one of a much larger group that includes these drone services that are global that you just mentioned. Is that right?
Yeah, right. As you said, it's the Delta Drone International is a holding, is the parent, is the umbrella company, and we have Rocket Mine is our mining service activity. Rocket Farm is our farm brand activity, and PyroZero as well is fully owned by Delta Drone, and it sits in Israel. And on top of what they're doing around the safety, we're using the technology capability in the group to help the service companies wherever they are to have a better reach and a better product for what we're looking to offer to our customer. And I'm serving, if I didn't mention it, as the executive chairman of the group. We have a great CEO sitting in Australia. We pull him from South Africa after he built the service in Africa, and he now is doing it in Australia. And we just a couple of days ago formally announced the completion of a transaction of buying the first service company in Australia, which will serve as our first business footprint in Australia. So that has been completed, and even the share price react like in 30-something% up, which is good.
Yeah, well, so again, global, doing amazing things, and you just mentioned, I mean, Eden and I did meet at AUVSI in Atlanta. It was a spectacular event. We got to meet in person and sit down and talk, so that was really great. And we talked a little bit about the services. You just mentioned some of them. In fact, I believe your motto, tagline, for lack of a better term, is drones as a service for enterprise. What services exactly are you offering? Let's just start with Australia, since that's maybe the latest announcement that you all just had.
So the group that we've just bought, or the company that we just bought, is currently have a service contract with mining. That's kind of, I said, our core experience. That's what we but we're already doing activity around security contract, and that we're doing as well, start doing that in Africa and as well in Australia. Initial delivery, which is more of test and offering services for our existing customers that are looking to expand the use of drone, which are already there. And we believe that the next step in Australia will be around medical, a combination of medical deliveries and medical services, I should say.
Talk about high impact use cases and someone moving and shaking the industry. So when we talked on Clubhouse last week, which by the way, if you all missed it, you missed a great one. You should be following us on Drone Law Connections every Thursday at 11 a.m. Mountain. We'll talk about that a little bit later, who's coming up tomorrow. But let's talk about mining, because when we talked on Clubhouse, my going in assumption when you said that was, oh, they're using drones for inspection. But you said they're using it for so much more in mining. For the blasting, I think, is what you mentioned.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, drone, it's a platform and it has a variety of different type of sensor. We start mainly with what we call open mine pits, and it was initially just to follow the raw material. So it's more of a volumetric type of assessing how much material is moved from one side to the other side. But then once the drones are in the air, so you can monitor the traffic of the trucks, you can monitor or clear the area before blast, can inspect if the blast was effective or not effective, could monitor of cracks that could develop and risk the type of operation. So at the end of the day, the survey manager, which is our customer at the end of the day. So what he's looking to get is data. And the way we provide the service is not just having a drone, a drone and a pilot that knows how to operate it. But at the end of the day, this pilot is as well have the training to use the right software, download all the data, do the needed kind of manipulation. And at the end of the day, we're bringing a product which is a data and insight from this day of operation. So the survey manager doesn't need to do to take the raw data, and he's getting a full product end to end. That's kind of the goal.
Yeah, that's so incredible, because mining is part of the energy critical infrastructure sector, right? And at least in the United States, and then I'm sure also globally, critical infrastructure, it's aging out. It's such a big deal here. We've got President Biden just pushing through a multi-trillion-dollar infrastructure bill here. So the idea of drones supporting infrastructure and this mining application, it's incredible. And I love to hear these stories. And I know you're doing that also in South Africa, but let's pivot for a second and talk a little bit about the security operations you're doing as part of a service.
So just maybe go back a little when you mentioned infrastructure, and I didn't mention, and I think that looking on those critical infrastructure, mainly around grid type of infrastructure, and of course road, and I think this is a global, that's kind of the next thing for drone services. Easy to use, it's literally a blue ocean. I mean, just coming back from Africa, where the need is so high in Ghana, talking to those government entity, and they just, and you show them what it can do comparing to what they have today on the ground. That's amazing. And the move from security is very trivial, reminding you that we've been using drone for military without getting to all the type of application. But if you take the simple type of military application, that was kind of security or perimeter security and so on, it's a no-brainer in many ways. Of course, not just the issue is not the platform and the sensor. You need that the pilot or the operator on the ground will be skilled. In this case, we have another advantage to have some relation in Israel, I should say, because we have a lot of those coming from service, drone operators, drone analysts, and their core expertise is how to do security. So they have a good training, good methodology that we can use for civilian or near civilian, or maybe more of a homeland type of security application. Back to mine, once the drone is there, so suddenly they said, okay, could you look on the perimeter to make sure that nobody is stepping in and risk himself or trying to, to do something around the criminal, or can you please escort the convoy of trucks that going from the mining to the next facility with the sensitive material on board, and to see that nobody's. So once the platform is there and you cross this psychology barrier or this accepted barrier, the eyes is open and the sky is the limit.
Literally, the sky's the limit. I mean, you just talked about at least two different ways in a mining operation that drones can be employed. So that's, yeah, I mean, again, I think you're right. You're only limited insofar as your imagination, and once you kind of get past that acceptance idea, which is always a big deal. I love that you're going to get into drone delivery soon. I mean, that's that's I think the next big wave. And I think when you talk about public acceptance, that is what's going to turn the tide in drones for good, because let's face it, the public, they don't see the mining operations necessarily. They don't see even necessarily the security operations or understand the impact of that. But if drones are delivering medicine to their door, when they can't get out, or they're in a rural area, now there's that acceptance starting to set in. And I think, critical infrastructure, I agree. I think that's probably where, for industry and the commercial sector, there's going to be a lot of future use and funding. I also think the drones for good and drone delivery is what is going to be that public acceptance, and it's going to turn the tide. Do you agree?
I mean, no doubt that I think, as you mentioned between the lines, it's draw a lot of buzz, because you can see the actual impact of the drone. I mean, instead of drone monitoring or gathering data, it's not tangible, and then suddenly it's moving packages or things from one place to the other. It's create a lot of buzz around it. But still, and here I'll be maybe slightly, no, not skeptical, but I should say that bringing your pizza to your 10th floor apartment, that's not the goal. Okay, and I think some of the players try to sell the story that drone will bring your pizza into, and I don't think that's kind of the immediate application or the immediate value. I think it's around medical delivery, and you can see the successful of Zipline that they've done in Africa, and now hopefully, and I'm crossing fingers, they will be able to duplicate or replicate the model in other places, which I think that's a great story. But in many ways, here is where ParaZero, this is why I started with ParaZero, but then even when creating this service, which I think that's kind of the way this industry will split it between drone manufacturer, those tier one player that will build technology, that will be enabling technology, and the service provider. And we choose to move to the service provider at this phase, because I think I share it with you in the clubhouse or maybe in our face-to-face. We need to have, we need to have a sustainable model. And it's hard to keep technology sustainable today, but we can do it with having a sustainable service model, and then having companies like ParaZero keep on investing in R&D and developing enabling technology, so we could do this drone delivery more easily, because we'll have this type of proprietary technology in-house. That's kind of the way we're building it.
That's actually a perfect segue back to Aaron, because when you think about public acceptance, I always call it the big three that people are concerned about. They're concerned about security, privacy, and safety. When they think about drones. And when I think about ParaZero, that's ticking the safety box right there. So Aaron, this is a great time maybe to talk a little bit about your product. I know you have Safe Air and how it works. And I believe you may have some slides to walk us through that.
Yeah, sure. So the ParaZero Safe Air at its core is a sophisticated, high-performance, autonomous safety system designed to mitigate flight risks autonomously. So the system uses independent sensors to continuously monitor the drone's flight profile and identify flight anomalies, whether it's excessive altitude loss, excessive pitch roll, single motor failure, full motor cut, electrical issues, you name it. Our onboard computer, the Smart Air Pro, identifies these critical failures. And when a critical failure is detected, the Safe Air system autonomously goes through a series of steps. So the first thing it does is cuts power to the drone, to the aerial platform, and stops the propellers. It autonomously deploys a parachute and sounds an audible alarm. So at that point, this all happens in fractions of a second. And once the parachute is deployed, the aerial platform, the drone, is brought to the ground in a safe, controlled descent with minimal impact energy, and it's very effective at low altitudes across a range of platforms.
You're using a lot of words there that are very familiar to at least those in the United States that read and are familiar with the newer operations over people rule, obviously at night and over moving vehicles. A lot of things packed into that rule that came out in January 2021. But the FAA broke those down into 4 categories. Category 1 are really small ones, and pretty much you can do that today. But categories 2 and 3, not only are they tied to the remote ID rule, but they have this risk-based kind of impact, the impact it will have on either people or property. And I think the magic word is joules. The power, the force impact that it would have on people. Can you explain a little bit how ParaZero's safe air system that you just described can help possibly fulfill the means of compliance for these Category 2 and Category 3 operations in the United States? And I know EASA has similar structure, but obviously my primary focus is in the United States. So tell us a little bit about that, Aaron, what you're thinking and what you're seeing with regards to ops over people and how ParaZero can help with that.
Absolutely, great question. So, for Category 2 and 3 FAA regulations, there are a number of elements that are defined to meet these requirements. I'm gonna pinpoint the kinetic energy values. So for Category 2 operations, the UAS can have a kinetic energy no greater than 11 foot-pounds of kinetic energy. And for Category 3, it's 25 foot-pounds of kinetic energy. So this is exactly what our systems are designed for, is to mitigate the ground risk impact. Just with our current solutions portfolio, for example, a Safe Air Mavic, which we've distributed globally to over 70 countries, that's rated at just over 8 joules, so just over 6 foot-pounds of kinetic energy. And we have similar platforms that would meet Category 3 kinetic energy thresholds. So from a kinetic energy requirement, our solutions are certainly designed and geared and positioned to support the industry to meet these requirements. And it's worth noting.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Aaron, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I see a slide up here with some of these drones that have your system on board. Just to be absolutely clear for the audience, because I was a little confused about that, and you clarified this for me in our clubhouse last week. Your systems are essentially baked in, right? Like, for lack of a better term, traditionally they're part of that design process that folks like you said, Mavic. So I guess you worked with DJI to get it on board the Mavic. And some of these other drones that we're seeing here on the screen at this time. Generally speaking, that's the way it works?
That's right. So, at a high level, I would break it down into 2 categories, right? We have off-the-shelf solutions that we design for popular platforms such as the Mavic, the Phantom, some DJI platforms, the Matrice, and other popular platforms. So that's the off-the-shelf sort of channel. Our deeper focus and engagements are with OEM integrations, particularly at the design stage. So OEMs we engage with to, from the design stage to integrate our systems, which certainly result in a seamless and optimized integration. Everything from reducing the weight to the most optimized possible outcome for a solution. And we have a range of applications that I can share with you.
Yeah, I definitely want to talk about that. I don't know if you want to kind of walk through the slide real quick, and then we can get into some of your global partnerships you've recently announced at kind of all levels and sizes of, I'll call them drone air quotes. Talk about the slide, and then we'll get into that.
Absolutely. So, a range of solutions cover everything from, small multi-rotor to fixed wing to VTOL, now eVTOL, manned jetpacks, you name it. We've provided solutions and worked with OEMs. On this particular slide, on the top left, we have the Lift Aircraft's Hexa platform, which is it's a very advanced air mobility platform that's currently being supported through the Agility Prime program with the U.S. Air Force. So we integrated with the Hexa platform from the design stage. It's an amazing system, and we're certainly proud to be design level safety partners on this platform.
Aaron, I was gonna say something like HUA or URA, but that's Army and Marine, and unfortunately, the United States Air Force doesn't really have a cool phrase like that.
Oh yeah.
But go Air Force, right? So Agility Prime and AFWorks are doing amazing things, and so let's just foot stomp the importance of this, Aaron. The fact that you have this system on board as part of Agility Prime, because look, I was a military attorney. I know how technology transfer and transition works. The fact that you guys are part of this collective process with Lift and their Hexa makes you one step closer to FAA certification with them, right? Because not only does the aircraft get certified, but all the different components, pieces, and parts and systems as well. So that's really exciting news for you guys to be part of this at the advanced air mobility level, working directly with the Air Force, because that gives you, I think, a huge leg up in this race to certification. So congratulations on that. That is a really big deal.
Thank you so much. Going back to that slide, actually, I wanted to point out one other image. So on the bottom, you see a lineup of 3 platforms. You see a VTOL and 2 multi-rotors. This was our project with Speedbird Aero. So Speedbird Aero is a Latin American drone delivery company that is truly taking the world of drone delivery by storm with their range of strategic partnerships with Hermes Perdini, Anheuser-Busch InBev, and a number of other strategic alignments. So we integrated across their entire fleet of delivery drones, and now as they scale up their operations, we have some very critical data that is truly meaningful. We have 4,000 deliveries and growing in scale. We have 700 BVLOS hours, 1,000 urban environment hours with our system integrated. And I think that truly speaks to not only the safety robustness and the safety management and the operational track record of Speedbird, but also of our OEM integrated safe air solution for them in supporting their operations. So this was certainly an exciting project we were happy to be a part of.
It's absolutely exciting, and just to kind of go back and really foot stomp this, so people don't really miss the importance of this. You're working with the United States Air Force in the United States, so you're gonna have a leg up here. You're already in Australia. You're working now with Speedbird on these deliveries in Latin America. By the way, Latin America is doing incredible. There's incredible things happening down there. On my Legacy podcast, I had Danny Conde from the Ibero-American Drone Conference on, had Felipe Varon from Varon Vehicles, right, doing the advanced air mobility down in Colombia. So again, we talked about Africa and South Africa with Eden and the delivery service and the mining and other security and other services you're doing there. I mean, just incredible. Let's transition for a second, and we do have a question from the audience. So thank you, Air Fox Photography. What they've asked is this: They are a Part 170.39 holder. So how is ParaZero going to be able to compliant with Category 4 for operations over people? We talked about categories 2 and 3. Categories 4 are the folks that already have kind of a program of record and are certified. You know, so how are you working with those folks?
So Category 4 specifically, you know, aiming for type certification. There are a list of organizations that are aiming to get type certification. What I can share with you is that with an ASTM compliant parachute recovery system, the type certification process, you know, under Category 4 for heavier platforms is significantly streamlined, and this is quantified in the number of flight hours required. So with a certified safety system that we can provide, Category 4, you know, type certification seekers can certainly streamline their approval process.
That's a great answer, and thank you, Air Fox Photography. Go ahead,
yeah,
Adam.
Don, if I may step in and thanks for the great question, because that's one of the things I think that's important to understand for the future. It won't be one technology that will solve or will allow us to fly over people beyond visual line of sight. It will be a combination of few components. There's already few companies that everybody is more or less developing chunk of this component, but all of them at the end of the day will be mandatory. Although the regulation as it's now says or talk about the type certificate process, that if you have this component you can have 50%. So that's kind of the immediate value that it brings. But at the end of the day, you know, we should look on those car or even on those flying platform where we're coming from. At the end of the day, it's a game of reliability. What the regulator or the industry working with the regulator, what we're trying is to trying what is the right level of reliability needed for drone in a certain weight category flying over people. Okay, well, what should it be, like a Boeing 777, 10 in the power of -9, or should it be like a Cessna, 10 in the power of -6, or even lower, like one for every 100,000 hours? You know, it's the same parameter, and it's tricky. So I think the way it's evolved in the last few years, it's trying to find this right balance. On one hand, if you put it too high, it will kill the industry. On the one hand, too low, you put people at risk or infrastructure and so on. And I think that we're gradually getting to this fine balance of, but we for sure know that to have a certified safety system will either shorten your path or the requirement level, like it will be easy for you to get this type certificate addressing directly for this question. But as well, you need kind of a remote ID, and you need some kind of level of communication in between. And by the way, that's when we look on our future roadmap of R&D, is collaboration around this area, how to expand the safety to beyond and adding those needed components that will allow you to have this needed package for BVLOS and fly over people. That's the way I believe it will go.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned R&D, and that is kind of the coin of the realm right now. I mean, literally, as we speak, Europe is engaged in the Gulf of Finland 2.0 trials. Like, they started, I believe, kicked off today. So that's really exciting. Clearly, all the flight hours that Aaron just mentioned, that you all are racking up globally with various different partners and proving out the safety of your system, the reliability, that's going to be critical to the future. So, you know, thanks for everything you're doing, because again, this is the movers and shakers theme, and this idea of this theme of this month are people that are really making an impact in this industry that are moving it forward. And I really feel like ParaZero and Delta Drones, you're doing that. So on that note, Aaron, I'm going to go back to you for 1 second. What would you say would be the biggest success story to date for ParaZero?
That's a great question. You know, first of all, I would say our commitment to continuously pushing the boundaries in R&D innovation and continuous improvement. As the technology curve with drone technology is inherently steep, staying on top of or ahead of the curve takes a great commitment. And that can be quantified by personnel resources and many other factors. But I would say that continuous innovation, and a deep commitment to that would certainly be one answer. And the second response I would say is that it's really the success stories behind providing operational safety for our global customers. That includes everything from use case enablement to approvals for BB-loss, world's first, operational approvals, drone delivery, BB-loss, flight over moving vehicles in urban environments. And these success stories really align with our company mission, which is to expand drone operations globally.
Well, that's a great answer. And so let me ask you this on that note, to expand globally. What do you see next on the horizon for ParaZero?
That's a great question. So, among our many different projects and platform support for various platforms, I would say that, we're certainly focused on the advanced air mobility sector and heavier platforms ranging from 100 kilo to 1,000+ kilo. Obviously, this takes a very unique approach to R&D and testing. But I can certainly share with you that our R&D roadmap and product innovation horizon for 2022 and beyond is truly exciting, and we have some phenomenal projects and products on the way, I can assure you.
Well, I have to also say you have a fan out there. Women in Drones just put in the chat here. Agree, they're killing it. Love how they're pushing the boundaries of what's possible. I know that you, Aaron, and ParaZero are a Woman in Drones member, so thank you for that support. Just a 30-second, kind of deviation here before we get to Eden. We did just push out a diversity, equity, and inclusion survey for Women in Drones. My company, P3 Tech, DDNC of Canada, and of course, Women in Drones. We just extended that deadline, everybody. It's till 17 September. And I want to tell you, we didn't extend it because we're not getting responses. We actually have already over 1,000 responses to that survey, which tells you something. That is absolutely incredible. So thank you for your support of Women in Drones. We just had a big announcement. We're going to be at CES with our Women to Watch Award in January for our 5th year anniversary. So maybe we'll see you guys there. But let me ask you, Eden, and we'll pivot. We only have a couple minutes left. What do you see on the horizon for Delta Drone International? Because you've really expanded globally. You're already in Africa, South Africa. You just, kind of opened up this newer line of effort in Australia. What's on the horizon there?
Yeah, you'll have to excuse me, but I cannot overcome this Woman in Drone easily. As married to one and father for two, and one of them is service in the military, and having the Wonder Woman behind you, and we had a chat around it. So it's not just Women in Drone, it's women everywhere, and we're definitely support of it, and that's something I've been involved in my previous years in the military. In every place we managed to bring more and more women, we've seen the impact. So that's kind of my commitment to the team downstairs.
Thank you.
To my personal team. And addressing your question in brief, and I think I've touched in those few points. The way I see the industry, and that's again my humble or my 2-cent opinion, it's you will have eventually drone service provider. Professional drone service provider will be a team of someone flying a drone just to take some real estate picture. It will be companies that know how to provide service with certified pilot, know how to negotiate or dealing with the regulator. They will have real technology behind them, and they will have a capacity to tailor solutions. So that's one segment. On the other hand, we'll have the drone manufacturer. Today we have 100, I don't want to say 1,000, we'll have fewer. We'll have fewer drone manufacturer. Again, less toys, more professional. Again, I'm not touching the consumer area, but I'm talking about the enterprise. We'll have few of those, and we'll start seeing those consolidating in this area. And the middle ground that connect between all of those is that the tier one, I'm calling them, or the technology enabler type of company. It's ParaZero and other. It's UAVionics, SageTech, and SciTech and other Israeli, and I can say that we're looking, and we have a clear roadmap how to grow the service side. We're not looking to be drone manufacturer, but we're definitely going to be involved in this tier one technology enabler, and it's going to be with collaborator with partner merges and create an entity that could be a real player in this domain. So that's kind of our goal in the next couple of years.
Well, I'll tell you what, Eden, you really inspired me during our talk at AUVSI, and I built out our 2022 media planner for this podcast, and I'm dedicating a month to technology enablers. So I'm telling everybody out there, if anybody's interested in being on this podcast, please reach out to me. We're going to have some great themes next year, and we've got obviously some great ones coming up this year. You mentioned SageTech. Avionics, they're a strategic partner of mine, and in fact, they're sponsoring the month of December, which is going to be the best of 2021. So stay tuned. I mean, the all stars keep coming, and I really appreciate you all. And on that note, with our couple minutes left, Aaron, Eden, we'll start with Aaron. Any closing comments for the audience? Anything you wanted to let them know before we dial off today?
Sure. I would just close by, extending a personal invitation to OEMs and customers to feel free to reach out to us. Contact us at contact@parazero.com or visit our website. We're certainly happy to engage with you and discuss the ways in which we can increase the safety of your operations, your use cases, and your various platforms. So I would definitely leave it at that.
Well, and follow them on social media. Aaron, you're very active on LinkedIn. ParaZero's got a page on LinkedIn. I know you guys are up on other platforms. Same with Delta Drone International. I see you up on Twitter. So, follow them and to learn the latest of what they're doing. And Eden, any closing comments from you?
Very short. I mean, on top of our commercial ambition, which is very clear as growing a business, we really believe that we're part of a group that is building a new industry. And having said that, we're open, and that's what we're doing. And I've been talking, inviting, chatting with people, even with my competitors. So I'm saying, like, everyone that will keep on pushing forward, everybody will enjoy at the end. So that's kind of my message. So anyone who is looking for advice, help, communicate, whatever, we're here. Easy to reach.
Well, thank you for that. And thank both of you for being with us today. And of course, for sponsoring this entire month of Movers and Shakers, because just the fact that you did that speaks volumes to your last point, Eden, of wanting to collaborate and really lift other companies and people that are doing incredible things in this space. So thank you both for that. And for everybody out there, if you join my Patreon community, you can see some bonus podcast footage with these two about some life wisdom. That's going to be exclusive to that community. So please consider joining my Patreon. The other thing I want to say is two things. Number one, tomorrow, Clubhouse, we got a special time, a little bit early, 10:30 Mountain, 12:30 p.m. Eastern. We are going to have Don Bershoff from True Weather. We call him the Weather Don for a reason. And wait a minute, Aaron, on that note, you got to show your show your mug. He's got a Godfather mug, so it's actually a perfect segue. Okay, I love it. So you got to see the Weather Don, hear the Weather Don tomorrow. With him is Mike DiCassola, Mikey D, from Drone Industry Systems Corp. He has a Vertiport in a Box IP solution. They're both going to be talking about their new collaboration, and they're going to be on this podcast next week. And oh, by the way, I've got my fabulous Las Vegas mug for a reason. I'm going to be at Commercial UAV in fabulous Las Vegas with Don and Mike, and beaming to you live from there during next week's Dawn of Drones podcast. So please join us live from Commercial UAV. It's going to be awesome. I cannot wait. I keep hearing like this person, that person going, this company, and I'm excited to run around the expo floor. I've got my knee brace ready. So, all right, that's it. It's a wrap. Thank you both again so much. Thank everybody for signing in. Thank you, our fans, for chiming in and asking questions. Until next time, out here.